working at your end, which is fabulous, and we're live, and it's not working for me. I'm just going to fix my computer.
I can see you and hear you, Linda. Hello, I can see there's
fabulous.
10 reactions. Hello, everyone. I can see some beautiful people that I know making comments already.
That's wonderful. So thanks very much for joining us today. I'm Linda Emslie, and I am so thrilled and honoured to be speaking to one of my favourite teachers, Tanya Wilson. For those of us in Darwin, there's many of us who are familiar with Tanya, and I was very fortunate when I stepped onto my healing path that Tanya Wilson was here as my massage teacher. So not only has she taught me massage, she also pointed me in the right direction to find my Reiki teacher. And since then, she's also developed her own beautiful healing modality, which is what we're going to talk about today. And I'm very fortunate to have sampled this myself, and I currently work with the Angelic Frequencies myself as well. And I get to talk to Tanya some more, which is always fun. So Tanya, I'm just going to give you a quick intro over and above my little love fest. Myself. And oh dear, now I've got my computer going in the background. There we go, gone. Tanya is a psychotherapist and coach, as well as a body worker and healer. People out there already know this. She has been in natural health and mental health arenas for just over 24 years. Tanya studied many modalities such as traditional Chinese medicine, vibrational kinesiology, remedial massage, and psychotherapy. She has previously trained as a dancer and is a disciple of the Wu-Tang lineage of traditional Chinese martial arts. And she studied and practiced Tibetan Buddhism and both the Theravada and Tibetan styles of meditation. And I hope I said that right. Outside of what she does as a body worker and a psychotherapist, she is also the founder and the facilitator of Angelic Frequencies. Tanya says the Angelic Frequency is a beautiful healing modality, as well as a space clearing, distance healing and meditation practice. It is simple yet diverse and is a vibrational medicine for the soul. And it's absolutely gorgeous to receive and to give. I can speak from personal experience there. So I've just got a message, something about volume. Clearing, distance healing and meditation. What's going on? I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm having a technology day today. So I'm going to hand over to the beautiful Tanya Wilson to just tell me a little bit more of her background. How did you move from studying dance into body work and then developing this beautiful energetic modality?
Oh, thank you. And firstly, thank you so much for such a lovely introduction, Linda. It's always really interesting hearing your own bio being read back to you. It's like, oh, goodness, yeah, I did that. That's right. So thank you. That was lovely and lovely to hear from you. Basically, you know, I started with massage. I kind of fell into it. As I was studying dance, a lot of people that were studying with me were sore, and I just happened to be giving people massages. You know, it just kind of organically unfolded, and so those people that and there might even be some people on today watching this broadcast that know from first-hand experience. I just started doing it, and when I got some qualifications, because I seemed to just be, you know, naturally evolving into that area. And it was around about that time that the Angelic Frequencies really started to, hi Sarah, the Angelic Frequencies really started to move through as an energy healing modality. And so it was really from the time that I started massaging that I recognised this particular frequency and this particular energy healing, energy moving through my hands. The only thing was I didn't realise that no one else did the same thing. So I just thought everyone had this. I didn't realise. Oops, I can see that Linda's dropped out. I think, you know, I used to live in Darwin, and I remember it's very difficult to keep a good connection in Darwin, so I'm not surprised. But I'll just keep answering Linda's question here on my own. And so it was really right from the go-get that I noticed the Angelic Frequencies coming through as a healing modality. And the only thing was that I didn't recognize it as something different to what anyone else was doing. And so as time went on and I, got more experienced with massage and healing, and in particular energy healing, I went and did my Reiki training as well. And then around that time, I realized that this was something different that I did, and that this was a particular energy frequency that was coming through my hands every time I worked on someone, whether that's through with massage or craniosacral work or Reiki. There was this different type of energy coming through. And so I started to explore this a little bit more. And interestingly, I'm sure everyone listening to this has had this experience as well. When you're kind of ready for something or something's about to unfold, then life brings you the information, or life brings you the scenario that you need to recognize what you do. And I was had my own practice and doing lots of massage work. And one day this woman had been booked in to see me, and she walked in the door. She was a very well-known spiritual teacher and had been teaching throughout Australia and overseas. And she came in to see me for a massage. And she said to me first, they didn't tell me that you worked with the angels. And I said, and I kind of looked over my shoulder thinking, what's she seeing that I can't see? And so she saw the kind of perplexed look on my face, and she said, oh, you don't, do you know what I mean? And I said, I've got no idea what you're talking about. And she said, well, the angels definitely work with you. And it was really from that point onwards that there was this kind of resonance of truth with that. And so I guess it was something that I always felt on the inside, but not really anything that I'd ever spoken to anyone else about, or, even had conversations with anyone about. And so her bringing that to my attention, and I guess there was that level of respect and, honesty with her as well, that she was able to say that to me with such bluntness that I was finally able to stand up and pay attention. Hello, Linda. I can see that you're back now. I'm still answering your question, by the way, so it's all good.
Oh, thank you.
And so from that point onwards, I began to be a little bit more outwardly aware and outwardly acknowledging the angelic frequencies that were working with me. And so it was really from that point in time onwards that I got the confidence and the courage to name it and to work with it, and to be a little bit more public with this energy that was working with me and through me. And you've heard this story before, Linda. I was just referring to when someone came in for a massage and they acknowledged the angels that were working with me.
Okay, yeah. Isn't it funny that sometimes we do get that external validation? It just gives us that little push along. Yeah, fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just wanted to say too, I can see so many people saying hello and making beautiful comments and sending lots of love hearts. And I'm not that tech savvy, so I apologize if I'm not acknowledging you all as you do that. And thank you for being here and being present with us.
Yeah, there's quite a few people who've joined in. So
hi, Jodie.
Certainly some names that I know and plenty of names that I don't. So it's wonderful that we've got, such a great turnout to hear all about this beautiful modality. So have you answered this question? How is the angelic frequencies different to other modalities?
Sure. And, this is a great question, because this is something that I've had to really get feedback from clients, feedback from students about what is different. And this is something that I work with in Angelic Frequencies 1. So that's the first level of training that people can do when they learn how to do the angelic frequencies. And I take them through a process where they get to identify the qualities of the angelic frequencies. And so some of the qualities are, some people feel them and see them as a watery quality, so a bit like a wavy quality, or almost like a sense of if you're sitting in a rowboat on a body of water and it was just kind of gently kind of rocking that boat. There's that sensation of wateriness and waviness. Other people experience it a little bit more like a pulsing energy. And sometimes people experience colour with it, and often the colours that come with it are a vibrant blue or an electric blue or even a powdery blue. And then other people experience it more like a white light as well. And so they're the kind of qualities that this particular frequency has, that I find people can really start to discern the difference between angelic frequencies and other healing modalities, other energy healing modalities, is that pulsing or waving. And people are often surprised, when I'm working on them, and clients don't get to experience this, but students that come and study this with me do, where I say to them, just open your eyes for a moment and have a look what's happening, because most people expect that, I'm literally rocking them with my hands. And then they realise, there's actually no movement there, and what they're feeling is the movement of the energy coming through into their physical body. So it's quite a powerful feeling, and people are often surprised that they're not physically moving when they open their eyes, because it feels that they are.
That's right. In fact, I've had clients ask if the ground's shaking or there's an earthquake or am I bumping the table or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I often experience the quality of angelic frequencies almost like a bit like spearmint. It's almost like colour, sensation, smell thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it's interesting.
Yes. Yeah, it's very clearing, very, very clear.
Yeah. So do you need to have grounding in other therapies to be able to study the angelic frequencies?
Sorry, Linda, what was that you asked? I just missed that, slightly dropped out.
I was just asking if it's necessary to have grounding in other modalities to be able to study the angelic frequencies, or whether you can just...
Yeah, you can just come and do it. And I think, it's important for the individual to know what their intent is. And so I say to people, have all sorts of people come and do the angelic frequencies. Some people do it just for themselves. Some people do it because perhaps there's a family member or a pet that they're wanting to do some healing work with, and they'd like to learn, something that they can use that healing, start to get some healing energy working for that person or that pet, or even for their home environment. And then other people come and do it because they want to expand their existing repertoire. So they are, already therapists or healers or body workers of some kind, and they feel drawn to the angelic frequencies as another modality that they can add into their existing framework. And so it really doesn't matter. You don't need any, background or foundation. When I teach the angelic frequencies too, if people are wanting to use the angelic frequencies with clients, so if they're wanting to become a practitioner of it, I do suggest that they do the angelic frequencies too with me, because we go a little bit into, the different pathologies that people can come in the door with, and how the angelic frequencies can help and heal with that. So there's a little bit more knowledge building that happens in angelic frequencies too, that helps people in terms of utilising it as a really great foundation for their healing practice.
Beautiful. And I understand that if people are interested in finding out more, or they're already involved with the angelic frequencies, that you've created a new Facebook group called I Love Angelic Frequencies. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
something
right.
Like that. Yep.
Yeah.
And also there is a meditation available. So if people would like to access either of those, they just need to comment angelic down below the video there. And you can get a link to join the Facebook group, and also to receive one of Tanya's beautiful angelic meditations. I'll certainly be keying angelic in there, that's for sure. So yes, if you'd like to receive Tanya's meditation or to join the I Love Angelic Frequencies group, just comment angelic. So I'll be doing that. Thank definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's actually involved with learning the angelic frequencies? What do you do? How do you do it?
Sure. So the first level angelic frequencies, so the first time that someone's learning angelic frequencies is a little bit like a way of identifying the qualities of angelic frequencies so that people can be really sure exactly what they are channeling, what exactly is coming through. Because when you open up as to bring a healing energy through, you want to be really sure exactly what it is that you're inviting in and carrying through. And in particular, when you're working as a practitioner, you want to be very sure and very solid about exactly what it is that you're using and when. It's a tool just like anything else. So we want to be really confident about what our tools are and how they work, how they operate, the power that comes with them, all of that kind of stuff. And so in that first training, I really get people to start to identify the frequency. And so we start usually with a meditation. And in that meditation, I work with the angelic frequencies too, so that people get to experience what that feels like around them in the space. And then we also do usually a session or two where I do some hands-on healing with each of the people in the group, so they get to experience what the angelic frequencies feel like, as in receiving it with a hands-on. And then we do some discussion around that, so they get to really learn, what does this feel like? What does this seem like? What does this look like? You know, for some people, even like you said, Linda, it can be a smell or a very tactile sensation as well. And so we start to really learn about what are the qualities that come with this beautiful healing modality, and how do I know and this is what I'm channeling. And then once you become conscious and aware of what that is, then it's very easy to be open to that coming through and moving through you. And then near the end of that one-day training, people get to play with that and use that with each other. So they get to practice on each other. And usually by the end of the day, everyone's feeling really blissy, very blissed out, very relaxed, because they've just been immersed in this beautiful angelic healing energy, which is very clearing, but also very peaceful as well. You know, most people kind of come to this lovely point of peace by the end of the day.
Yeah,
I just noticed, yeah, it is, and I know you've been in that scenario a number of times, Linda. So yeah, it's a lovely place to get to.
So we've been asked a really good question here. How do you protect yourself when doing your work? How do you not get drained?
Sure.
That's from Jackie. Thanks, Jackie.
Yeah. And so the second part, how do you not get drained? There's a technique that I do. I learned it when I studied vibrational kinesiology, and I've been using it ever since, and it works extremely well. And I say, take energy through me, not from me, and not from your own system. And I just chant that. And sometimes I chant it out loud, and sometimes I chant it inwardly. If you do it out loud, you only need to do it once. And so, you know, take energy through me, not from me, and not from my own system. And so you're really indicating that you're this clear channel, and the energy is moving through you and out through your hands, and in some cases out through your voice. As we expand on the angelic frequencies, you can use it as a sounding tool as well. And so just like those energies come out through your hands, they also can come out through your voice. And so wherever and however that energy is being channeled, you know that it's coming purely through, rather than taking parts of you with it, or you taking on stuff from the client at the same time. It's just a clear channel. And I teach that and explain that process in the Angelic Frequencies 1 and 2, and continue to kind of go over that with people. In terms of protecting myself, you know, it happens on all levels. So it's a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual practice, and it is a practice, and it is something that you know, that I need to do every day, day in and day out. And I find that my energy needs to be the only word that's coming to mind is higher, but not higher as in a hierarchical thing, higher as in a frequency than the than the energy of the client. So, for example, if I'm really burnt out, or if I haven't had any sleep, or if I've been sick, then I know, it's not a good place for me to be doing the energy work. I need to pull back from that for a couple of days until I've been able to rejuvenate, because it's at those times where you can where the need for protection is really important, when your physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual body is not intact and it's not up to, not feeling 100%. And so keeping your health really is your best protection that you can get. There is a lot of information out there about spiritual protection, and I'm not going to go into that today because it's quite a big topic. But when we do the angelic frequencies work, that often does come up in conversation as well. When people are in the workshops doing energy work, this is ultimately something that comes up, and we discuss and talk about whatever, to whatever level is appropriate for the students in the class.
Fabulous. And we have some other questions that have come through also, Tanya. Sarah Louise is asking, would this technique work when working in other areas?
I love that question. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Because as some of you know, I'm also a counsellor, and there's been a few people that have studied the angelic frequencies with me that are also counsellors or coaches or consultants. And they find that the angelic frequencies does come through when they're just in session with people. So you don't need to be physically touching. You can just kind of bring that energy with you. So when I'm doing my counselling work before, at the beginning of the day, I just, they kind of come in the door with me. The frequencies come in the door with me, and I set up the space with the beautiful angelic frequencies. And sometimes there's opportunities in counselling or coaching where there'll be a pause or a space where the client's thinking or ruminating about something. And so often I just kind of, call in the angelic frequencies, particularly if they're troubled about something or struggling to understand something or bring something forward. And so I do find that it's a really lovely way of creating resonance and setting up a lovely healing space.
Beautiful. And I know for myself that I've actually pulled it in if I've gone to a difficult meeting or having to go into an environment that I don't particularly want to be in. I've actually worked, with the angelic frequencies in that setting to make myself feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And if I'm in a conversation or a meeting that's not pleasant or quite difficult, that can help just everybody feel harmonious and communicate on a good level. So it can be used in various ways. It's beautiful.
And I love that you used, sorry.
No, go right ahead.
I was just going to say, I love that you use the word harmonious, because that's a really good description, actually, Linda. It does. It's a very harmonious energy to work with. So I can definitely see how that would be really helpful in that scenario.
Absolutely. And we have more questions. Sue Foley is asking, how do you know that that the energy is moving through you? What does that feel like?
Oh, beautiful. Thanks, Sue. I recognise Sue's little Facebook picture up there. I was thinking, I know that picture. Hi, Sue.
Yes.
That's a great question. And, it's interesting, and I watch this happen with students when they're learning the angelic frequencies as well. It does have, if you allow the angelic frequencies to sit in you, you get that rocking sensation yourself. So for example, if I was sitting in the chair and just thinking about channeling the angelic frequencies, over a period of time, I would start to sway or rock, or there'd be like a pulsation through my body. When we're using it on other people, whether that's hands-on or hands-off, the energy moves straight through. So you can definitely feel the energy in that rocking or pulsing sensation. But it's not as dramatic as when you're just kind of holding it in yourself. It kind of comes through and out. So a little bit more like if you were in that boat on the ocean and the waves were just like gently rocking the boat, you would be perhaps not in the boat, you might be one of the seagulls floating, floating up above the boat, where they're kind of tuned into the pulsing or the rocking. They might even be hovering in the same kind of direction, but not really right in there with it. So I hope that makes sense. I know what I mean, but I hope I explained that well.
Yeah, so it's sort of like you're not actually in it anymore. When it's not being transmitted clearly, it's your own body that kind of holds the vibration.
Yes.
But then when you're actually letting that flow through, that rocking sensation in your own body ceases, doesn't it? And it's
absolutely
through.
That's right. And so often when I'm teaching, I'll notice some students are really quite severely rocking, and I could see their physical body rocking. And I just invite them to say to the client, words like opening, receiving, being open to, allowing. So all of those kind of opening suggestions and as soon as I start to suggest that opening and receiving and allowing, it's interesting, the practitioner will stop rocking and you can see the energy actually moves through into the client. But previous to that, it kind of is reverberating back to the practitioner. And so it's a good indication to know, is this actually moving through, or is this staying in me and within me?
Perfect. And so we do have more questions. Beck Gucci is asking, is it okay to call Archangel Michael? Is he good for boundaries?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm so happy that you brought that up, Beck. Thank you for that question. Look, Archangel Michael's good for all sorts of things. I do call on him myself, and he is good for boundaries and particularly good for protection. He's a real favourite of mine. But I'm glad you asked the question. Reason being is because with the Angelic Frequencies work, I don't label or name angels as such. And so the Angelic Frequencies is non-sectorial, it's non-religious. There's no affiliation with any particular angels at all. And so, I know in different cultures and in different countries and in different times throughout history, we have these beautiful connections to particular angels. And it doesn't matter where you go in the world, there's some sort of history to do with angels, right? We can see those very old even rock paintings sometimes of indigenous cultures where you can see halos and winged creatures, or winged beings. And so, wherever we go in history, wherever we go in time, wherever we go in terms of culture and countries, we can see angels have been evident, alongside of our human evolution. And so when I'm teaching the Angelic Frequencies, I'm just very careful about not dipping into that. So not labeling and not working with particular angels. I do that personally from time to time, but that's not the Angelic Frequencies. That's something different. And so the Angelic Frequencies is it's very free. It's not, there's no pictures or words associated with it in terms of what it might look like or what we call it, but rather it's a frequency. So just like you would see, when you can see the frequencies on the machines and you see the movement of the line going up and down, or if you're musical, you can hear different frequencies in music. So it's a little bit more like that, and it's just that particular frequency is resonant with the angelic realm. So it's more of a conglomerate or group of angelic beings rather than anything in particular. And so it absolutely doesn't mean that you can't, use your other angelic connections whilst you're using angelic frequencies. I just like to be really clear about that the angelic frequencies is non-sectorial, so it's not belonging to any particular part of history or culture.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's such a beautiful open energy, and it's such a beautiful open framework. I love it.
Yeah,
You can't tell at
yeah.
all that I'm a convert, can you, Tanya?
Well, you've been using it for a while too, you know, so I think you really,
Yeah.
you know, you've gotten to experience the full power and the full range of the angelic frequency. So I'm not surprised, and it suits you.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
it does. Well, it suits you too. So
yeah.
now Sue is asking a question. Appears to have directed it to me. What do you do, Linda, to feel comfortable using the angelic frequency?
Mm.
What do I? It is comfortable. Maybe you need to ask more, just supply a bit more information with that question. So I'm not completely sure what you're asking, but for me, when I work with angelic frequencies, um, it's just like working with any other modality, is being aware of your own body mechanics so that you're positioning yourself to look after your body and not get fatigued and sore with whatever you're doing, and just being aware of all the usual energy hygiene stuff that you work through when doing energy work, so that
Mm.
you are being a clear channel, that you are working for the client's best interests, that you're not stepping in the way, so to speak. Just completely stepping back and allowing the energy to do what it needs to do. I'm not sure if
Mm.
that answers Sue's question, but
That
I'm
sounds
sure
good
that
to me.
she'll come
Yeah,
back with more. Yeah.
yeah. And Linda, you know, it's really interesting that, you know, that Sue asked this question. I know a few times in the past, whether it's clients or students, some people feel a little bit seasick with it, you know, because it does have quite a
Mm.
wavy or watery. And so I have had the instance where people have felt seasick, you know, like they're literally on a boat in
Wow.
the ocean, you know. So
Yeah.
obviously in those situations, people are feeling it quite intensely. And so in terms of feeling comfortable with it, you know, we really need to gauge how much of that energy is, you know, coming through. And I often feel like when people have those dramatic responses, I think it's only happened twice in the whole time I've been using it. And I've been using angelic frequencies for over 20 years now. So, you know,
Mm.
twice in 20 years it's few and far between, but it does go to show that there is a certain element of power, you know, of power with that frequency, and it's often a clearing or a cleansing experience for the person that does go through that little bit of a kind of rough moment with it. It can be quite cleansing out the other side of it.
Yeah. And I think there's that adjustment process that you do go through when you work with energy, isn't there? It
Mm.
doesn't really matter what modality
Yeah,
you pick. There is an
yeah,
adjustment process. So, yeah.
yeah.
Megan Tompkins is asking, do you believe that the angels around us are our spirit guides, or are they different?
Look, they can be, and they can be different. So I would say yes to both of those things. So you know, the angels can be your spirit guides, but they can also be different as well. Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Beautiful.
the same. They can be same, and they can be same different.
Yep, exactly. You know, they can be there for all sorts of fabulous reasons.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah, here's a good question. What's the difference between angelic frequencies 1 and 2? I think you touched on that at the beginning, but there might be a
Mm,
bit more detail that you can give.
sure. Yeah, sure. With angelic frequencies too, we go a little bit more into depth of how you can use the angelic frequencies as a space clearing practice, and also how you can use it as a meditation practice, and how you can use it as a psychic healing practice. And so I use the word psychic healing, but all that really means in the context of the angelic frequencies too is that the hands are up, off, away from the body. So you don't need to be touching the physical body in order for that energy to flow through to the person. And so, you know, we might be doing, you know, movements or actions where we can kind of bring the energy out, or bring the energy in with the angelic frequencies. We don't need to be physically touching the other person's body. And that's a big part of the angelic frequencies too, is learning how to go from a hands-on practice to a hands-off practice. And once people get that connection, you know, once they go from that step of it being a hands-on to a hands-off, then we can explore the other ways that this frequency moves through. So it can move through in sound, and it can also move through in terms of time and space. And so you don't necessarily need to be somewhere in order for angelic frequencies to go somewhere. So for example, just yesterday I used the angelic frequencies. A client was talking about wanting to have their home cleared. They wanted a space clearing in their home, and so I asked them if it was okay if I used them angelic frequencies for that, and they said yes. And we sent the angelic frequencies to their home. So even though they were here in clinic with me, the space clearing was kind of going on in their home, which is 20 kilometres away from here. So once you kind of can start to use the angelic frequencies as not just a touch transmission, then you can start to kind of get your head around all the different ways that this frequency can then move through you. And so, voice, distant healing, space clearing, and then, of course, meditation as well.
Gorgeous.
The other important thing about angelic frequencies too, sorry, Linda, I forgot to mention, is that we do go over for the practitioners. So for people that are wanting to become practitioners, we then start to bring in, okay, if someone's coming in with this illness, or someone's coming in with this, particular thing going on in their physical body, or if someone's come in and they've had chemotherapy, if someone's coming in and they've got, some fluid or, fluid retention, then we go about, what certain places, what certain handholds, and what things we can do for those particular pathologies. Beautiful.
Yes, it's a really well-rounded modality. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay. So how can people learn this for themselves?
It's interesting when I've probably about 50% of the students that I have say, I used to feel this when I was little. I used to feel this when I was sitting on my bed or sitting on the lounge room floor, or I used to feel this come through me a lot more when I was younger. So I suspect it is something that certain people, have an affiliation with already, that those angelic frequencies have worked through them or with them at some point in their life anyway. And by coming and doing an angelic frequencies training, you get to make that connection. You get to bring that back in a conscious way, rather than it being incidental or something that happened once or twice when you were a child, or something that you might not even remember even. And then other people that come and do the training have not experienced this at all ever, and so it's a completely new thing for them. And coming and doing the angelic frequencies training helps to open them up to that and to learn how to bring that through and use that. I feel like I got sidetracked on the question, though. I don't think I answered your question properly.
Just about how people can learn this for themselves. I think you've fairly well covered it. But essentially they probably need to actually connect with you in the first instance.
Yeah, that's correct. And my hope is in the future, we've got quite a few students now that have done the angelic frequencies training with me, and so down the track I'm hoping to start to train other teachers, so that there will be other people in Australia and maybe even overseas at some point that can teach the angelic frequencies as well. But at the moment, coming and doing a training with me is how you learn the angelic frequencies. And you need to do angelic frequencies 1 and then angelic frequencies 2, and it's not just for practitioners, it can be for anyone. And I do teach it all over Australia. So currently I'm teaching it in Adelaide and Sunshine Coast and in Darwin with you guys.
Yay! We're so lucky. We love it when you come up here, Tanya.
Oh, I love it when I'm there, especially when it's cold here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's my home away from home.
Yeah, absolutely. You left a bit of a hole here, I have to say, when you left. That's okay.
That's okay.
So
I can keep coming and filling that back up again.
Yeah, gorgeous. So Beck Gucci is just commenting that for her it's a specific feeling when she knows that she's got the angelic frequencies moving through her. She has so much joy when she comes through, and she's saying thank you for that.
Oh,
absolutely.
Thank you, Beck. Yeah. And actually, Beck is the one and only person that's ever given me an angelic frequencies treatment. So even with all the people I've taught, I've never received it from another practitioner. And so Beck is the one and only person that's given me that experience. So that's an absolute blessing.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah, it was very beautiful, very beautiful. And of course, I experience it all the time because they're coming through, but it's different when someone else is giving it to you.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And Sue has another question for us. When you work with clients that come with their own energy, how do you adjust? So, interesting question.
Yeah, it is. Look, that's an ongoing thing. That's happening day in, day out, continuously, all the time. When you work with clients that come with their own energy, how do you adjust? My sense is that there's something else behind that question, because everyone that walks in the door is coming in with their own energy. And so there really is no adjustment. It's a little bit like, well, let's talk about this in terms of from a practitioner's point of view. So Sue specifically asked the question in terms of clients. So if I'm to address that purely from a practitioner standpoint, I feel like my role is to be a little bit like, you might have heard the expression, mind like water. And, really what that expression is getting at is the water responds completely appropriately to whatever it comes to it, So if you kind of skim a pebble over the water responds in a certain way. If you throw a big quartz rock in the water responds in a completely appropriate way. It doesn't ever over-respond or under-respond or have a strange response. It's just totally in flow with whatever it meets or whatever meets it. And so I really do see my role as a practitioner, whether I'm doing angelic frequencies or whether I'm doing any other sort of work, is to constantly have my mind in that frame of mind like water, to only ever respond completely appropriately to the force that's incoming.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, well, it makes sense to me, and it really does epitomise, I think, the way that you meet the person where they're at.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I see we've still got people joining us. So thank you, everybody who's joined in so far. And if you are interested in connecting with the angelic frequencies and you'd like to score one of Tanya's beautiful meditations, just comment angelic down the bottom and you'll get sent a link to the new Facebook group, I Love Angelic Frequencies, and you'll also receive one of Tanya's awesome angelic meditations, which I will certainly be commenting angelic as soon as I get off here. And I'm just scrolling through to see if there are any other. Kim Hayden is saying, I love Angelic Frequencies 1 and am using it more in my everyday life as well as in my clinic. Absolutely complements other modalities. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And what else? Sue's also asking, are there words that you use to take a client into that space?
No, not really. The only time that particular words are used is if someone's not receptive. And so, I talked before about the energy kind of bouncing back and then the practitioner feeling like they're moving and pulsing with the energy. And so in that case, I always suggest to make some suggestive words like opening, allowing, receiving. And in some cases, it's totally appropriate to even start a conversation about that. So even saying to the client, is there any reason that you would be holding back from receiving healing today? Is there any reason why you might be holding back from allowing what it is that you actually said that you wanted? They might have mentioned that they want some healing or some balancing. And then as soon as you start to mention that, sorry, I should have brought some water in with me. You'd think I'd be used to talking a lot by now. You know, that you can start to make those suggestions, and you instantly see and feel their, you know, their aura, their energy body, as well as their physical body begin to open up to that. In terms of using angelic frequencies in a meditation, then yes, there are particular words that I'll use and indicate. And I try to stay very clear away from traditional suggestions of particular angels, if that makes sense. And so rather than it being about a particular type of angel or particular angel that people might be familiar with, to keep it very general, you know, to allude to it, so that people have the space to come up with what that is for themselves, you know. And so what I feel an angel is, and what you know, anyone in that meditation class feels that an angel is, can be very different things, you know. And anyone that's ever opened a pack of, you know, perhaps angel oracle cards or something like that, you know, you can see that there's usually 32 or 48 or, you know, however many cards are in the pack of different angels there, you know. So I'm very careful about the words that I use and how I describe, and I try and just stay to very kind of simple qualities rather than descriptions.
Beautiful. And Megan Tompkins is just commenting here that it helps her to have vibration at its highest by eating well and looking after her mind and body also. It's true, it all works together. Yeah, that's so true.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Sarah Louise is saying it makes a lot of sense. I do this, but not in healing work, in a helping and counselling setting. So that's gorgeous.
Yeah,
that's
great,
healing. That's
Sarah.
healing. What are you saying? That's not healing.
It's all healing, isn't it?
Yeah. And Megan, thank you. Megan saying we both have amazing energy. I'm so glad I have the pleasure of spending this time to watch you both and learning. Well, thank you, Megan. I'm getting goosebumps now. Thank you.
Yeah.
What else have we got here? I'm just scrolling quickly through the comments, Tanya. Sorry.
Sure, no, that's all right. And I did want to say, Linda. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah,
I was just going to
ahead.
say, you know, you've been doing this since 2013, so you were actually in that original class. It took me a long time to bring the angelic frequencies from you know, from something that I just used personally to actually teaching a group of people the modality, and so you were in that first group of people that, you know, one of the first people that learnt the modality with me up in Darwin in 2013, and then not long after I did another training here in Adelaide, and so, you know, it's in terms of other people other than me doing the angelic frequencies, it's a relatively new modality, but it is growing really, really fast. People are very responsive to us, and the energy seems to suit the new frequencies that are coming through in Earth at the moment. So yeah, it's very appropriate for the times, I think.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, I think you've brought it through in perfect timing. So you obviously needed that gestation time and the other learning that you've done around it to be able to not just bring the frequency through, but to be able to look at how to best employ that frequency to help other people. And then to be able to communicate that in a way that other people can understand, oh yeah, I can really grasp this, and I can see what Tanya's getting at, and I can see how this works in this person's body. Yeah. So, you know,
right.
You really don't need to beat yourself up that you took so long, because you took the perfect time.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel better now.
Yeah. Gorgeous. Let me just check these comments and see. And Adair is just giving people a reminder that you need to come in as your personal profile and comment angelic, so that the system picks you up properly and we're able to send you the link so that you can join the I Love Angelic Frequencies group and get that beautiful meditation. So, yep, if you've come on as your business page, I think you need to actually go back in as your personal profile and comment, and then the system will work properly. Okay, and Jackie Davis is saying, okay, so they are free to interpretation. That might be... Oh, and Roz is saying, is the word angelic needed to be alone? Oh, Adair, asking technical questions of Adair. Sorry. Sorry about that. I'll just keep going.
I wonder what Jackie means. I can see that up on the screen, so they're free to interpretation. Oh, I think she was saying that when we were talking about the, you know, how it's
the meditation.
Described. Yeah.
I think so. And she's also saying, you know how you mentioned the rocking, a lot of autistic children rock. It makes me wonder whether they're experiencing the angelic vibration also. Maybe.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, Jackie. Yeah, very interesting. It would be, you know, I'd love it if one of my students had a interest in that area, if perhaps they could do a little bit of research. I do have a couple of family members that are autistic, and they're all in the same family, actually. And one of the little boys, when he was very young, was his mum always said, he never goes to anyone, Tanya, but he always wants to hang on to you, you know. And because I rarely saw them, I only saw them once or twice while they were very young like that. And so she did comment on how very unusual it was that he would, you know, that he would be affectionate with me and hug me and hold me. And yeah, so I wonder if it was that familiarity with the frequency now that Jackie's said that.
Yeah. Wow. Very well could be. And even just feeling safe in the frequency that was there. Let me see. And Kim's saying, yes, Tanya, very appropriate for the new earth energy. Perfect. Beautiful.
Yeah, cool.
And Sarah Louise is saying, I recall Tanya prior to 2013, and she used to amaze me every time we had contact. Yep, absolutely.
Oh, hi, Sarah.
Perfect accord there, Sarah. Yeah, perfect. And Megan's just commenting, it's all about love and helping others. Yes, beautiful.
And you know, it is, at the end of the day, this is a tool. This is a way that people can, you know, connect and help and heal, and not just other people, themselves as well. You know, I use the angelic frequencies often for myself, for my own healing, for my own relaxation. It's really, really effective. And it's a tool, just like there are many, many tools out there for all of those same purposes. And there is something about, you know, when we all finish a day of training in the angelic frequencies, or a weekend of training in some cases, you know, there is that beautiful sense of love and compassion that surrounds everyone. It's quite a nice space to be in.
Yeah, and I've got very vague memories, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think we did something right at the end where we all stood in a circle and had our hands on the back of the person in front, and, you know, we got to experience each other's angel wings. Yeah. It was quite an amazing process. Yeah. I really did love that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. It is a really lovely sensation.
It is, and just seeing the angel presence in everybody, that divine spark, it's absolutely there. Yeah. We should recognize how angelic and divine we are ourselves.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's a great point, actually, Linda. And, you know, just following on from that, I would like to mention that in the group, in the I Love Angelic Frequencies group, people can find a document in there. So I've uploaded a document that's our practitioner listing. So all the practitioners that are available to do angelic frequencies. So if you wanted an angelic frequencies treatment, you could go to that practitioner listing. And you can find people in both Northern Territory and South Australia at the moment that do that modality. You know, so at the moment, that's where we have practitioners, South Australia and Northern Territory. You know, I'm sure that will grow and change over time. And so if people are wanting even distance healings or to experience the angelic frequencies via distance or space clearing, then you can still contact any of the practitioners on that listing, even if you aren't in that particular state. So that's a good way that people can access the angelic frequencies for themselves, is by getting on there, having a look and finding someone that's in that area.
Perfect. And I might just be a little bit cheeky here and say, if there's anybody watching live at the moment or those who are on the replay later and you're tuning in from somewhere other than South Australia and the Northern Territory, comment where you're from and that you'd like to do angelic frequencies. And I'm sure that we can get something underway there so that this beautiful modality can spread and be shared by more people. It really deserves
thank you,
it.
Linda. Oh,
yeah.
That's lovely. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah. I think we just need to get it out there. There's so many people who can benefit from the angelic frequencies. So let's get it out there. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, good on you. Thank you.
Oh, and that pretty much answers my last question, which is how can people access this modality? So they can contact the practitioners on your practitioner register. They can contact yourself. They can comment below that they'd like to learn, and we can see what comes of that.
We can organise something. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And look, I love travelling, and I really enjoy travelling and teaching. And so wherever you are, let me know. And if there's enough people wanting to do it, then we'll definitely organise something so that you guys can have access to it for sure. Oh, and on that note, there is a training coming up in Adelaide. So on the 15th and 16th of September, the Saturday the 15th of September is the Angelic Frequencies 1 training here in Adelaide. And on the 16th of September, the following day, on the Sunday, is the Angelic Frequencies 2. So a lot of people do choose to do 1 and 2 together in the same weekend. It's quite intensive, but it is a really practical way of doing the work. And then there are other students that have done Angelic Frequencies 1 at some other time, and then they decide to come along and do Angelic Frequencies 2. And if that's the case, I always offer for previous students to do a refresher. So if you've done Angelic Frequencies with me before and you're considering doing Angelic Frequencies 2, then you can come along and do Angelic Frequencies 1 as a refresher. And so there's some training opportunities coming up. I'm sure, it doesn't sound like soon, but it will be soon. Before we know
yes, it will be September before we know it. Yeah, absolutely. And so both Jackie is saying that her grandson is autistic and he's very spiritual and often holds someone's hand from spirit.
Beautiful.
And Megan is also saying that she works with autistic children, and it's amazing how in tune they really are. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
got
agree.
other comments here.
I'm noticing how many comments have been on this broadcast. So, thank you so much, everyone, for staying, interacting and staying with us. I think that's absolutely lovely.
It's beautiful. So Sarah Louise is saying no one in Victoria with a little tear face, which is a bit sad. But Sarah Louise, you can put your hand up and be the first one.
That's right. I'll come over just for you, Sarah. We have talked about that before, I know. We have to get this organised.
Yeah. And she's also saying distant healings, it will need to be then. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, absolutely. Some people say to me, I get feedback from some people saying that the distance healings they find are more powerful than being there in person. So, there's definitely nothing wrong with having some distance healing and being able to actually really access it in that way as well.
Absolutely. Yes. And Kim Hayden's saying, pack the suitcase, Tanya. You are going travelling.
Thanks,
it's
Kim.
Lucky you like travelling. Who else have we got here? Sue's saying Darwin frequency sounds awesome. I was saying to myself, no more learning and study. Interested in how how it can support my EFT and language.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think knowing the area that you're in, that this would be something that would be so compatible and so wonderful, but also a really great self-care tool as well. Yeah, I think that would work in beautifully with the EFT tapping. And, you know, a bit like Sarah mentioned and a bit like I was mentioning earlier on the call, and yourself as well, Linda, how wonderfully it works just in kind of day-to-day scenarios too. And so I think for Sue, asking about, you know, how it might integrate with EFT, very similarly to what you were saying about being in a meeting, you know. So if someone's, you know, trying to come up with or work through something in an EFT context, I can see how the angelic frequencies could be a really great tool that Sue could use with that.
Yep. And Megan is saying that she'll be seeing you in September with bells on. Beautiful.
Oh, wonderful.
And Kim,
thanks, Megan. I look forward to meeting her.
Kim Hayden, can't wait. She'll be there in September.
Yes, wonderful. Good on you guys.
Kim Allen is interested in training in September, so that's fantastic.
Oh, hi, Kim. I remember the other
connection.
Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
And Sarah Louise is going to hold you to that. I think that might be the one-on-one training in Victoria.
We'll talk soon, Sarah.
That would be lovely. So I've come to the end of my questions, and I think we've covered the angelic frequencies quite thoroughly. Has anybody got any last questions before we wrap this up? And don't forget to put your angelic comment in so you can grab that meditation and you can enjoy, you can join the Facebook group and connect with the practitioner register there.
And I just want to say too, with the free meditation that I'm offering people, so everyone that's been listening today, whether you're listening live or whether they're listening to the recording later on, you know, make sure that you make the comment and you'll be able to get into the I Love Angelic Frequencies Facebook group, and from there the meditation will be shared. It's a live recording of a meditation, so it's quite powerful. It's actually been recorded in an angelic frequencies training, and so the energies that were around and the meditation that was used is quite a powerful one. So I really strongly suggest that you lie down, put some headphones on, you know, don't get distracted by the, you know, what a live recording is, that you can hear some kind of background noises and so on, but it's well worth staying with that till the end and taking yourself through that angelic meditation if you're interested in the frequencies.
Beautiful. That will be a gorgeous experience. I'm definitely putting my comment in as soon as we finish. Just checking for any last minute comments. Roz Boundy needs to go. Thank you, Roz, for taking your time to be here today. She's thanking us for a great session. Thank you, Roz.
Thank you, Roz.
And we're getting some thanks from Kim. Thank you, Kim, for being here. Thank you, Megan. Love and light to everyone, and thanks for giving time tonight, Tanya. Oh, and me too. I feel very privileged. It's been absolutely no bother for me to spend time in your presence again, Tanya. I love talking to you.
You too.
I'm more than happy to have your time and my time. And Sue's just saying, I will trust that I have a meditation and putting in the word. Absolutely. Thanks, Sue. Yeah. Sarah Louise, thank you to both for time and energy. So lovely. I look forward to the meditation. Perfect.
Gorgeous. Oh, thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure to be in your company again and to talk about angelic frequencies. I love talking healing work with you. Do you have any last words that you want to say about the angelic frequencies?
You know, I think we've been really thorough tonight. Same with me. I've really enjoyed talking about the angelic frequencies with you as well, and you know, knowing that you're one of the first people to, you know, to being open to receiving the training as well, and having a great group of you there in Darwin that's kind of started this journey off. So, you know, thank you for trusting in it and being such a beautiful advocate for it as well. Because I believe, as you do, you know, it needs to be out there more. It is a beautiful, beautiful modality, whether you use it for healing, meditation, space clearing, or sound healing. You know, it works in such a broad range of capacities. And yeah, and I certainly love teaching it. I certainly love being involved in it, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity to be able to talk about it and perhaps bring it to, you know, some more people, a broader range of people than what has been so far. So very, very grateful, and definitely one of my favourite topics. And thank you for, thanks for inviting me and making this opportunity happen.
Oh, that's my pleasure. And while we're on the thank yous, I want to give a big thank you to Adair Palmer, who is actually the master magician behind the scenes here tonight, who has been producing this particular talk for us. So thank you very much to Adair Palmer for your time and your expertise and your technology. We really appreciate that. I also want to give thanks to Roy Fenson for allowing us to have time in the Spiritual and Wellness Expo extravaganza that both he and Adair have put together on Facebook. And I also just want to mention that for people in South Australia, there is a spiritual and wellness market coming up in Nuriyutta. Did I say that right?
Nuriyutta. Yeah.
On the 22nd of July. So there has been an absolute plethora of amazing practitioners on this expo, on the Facebook expo. So please take your time to go and have a look at My Time TV. Check out the ones that have already been recorded and the ones that are still to come. And if you have time on the 22nd of July, go to the Barossa Valley and check out the In Real Life market that's coming up. So that's my little plug, as a way of saying thank you very much for allowing us to be a part of this amazing activity. So thank you, Adair. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Ball Boys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lion.